Unfortunately, that was quick. This is the second witness that we've brought in via subpoena for a deposition that has pled the fifth, and they've stated they're not going to answer questions. I want to read the first two questions. Just so everyone knows, these are the types of questions we ask. Was Joe Biden fit to exercise the duties of the president? He pled the fifth. Second question, did any unelected official or family member execute the duties of the presidency? And this is Joe Biden's chief of staff. Did any unelected officials or family members ever execute the duties of the presidency? Simple question. He knew he was going to be asked that. Everybody in America wants to know that. He pled the fifth. So we're going to continue our investigation. I think that the American people are concerned. They're concerned that there were people making decisions in the White House that were not only unelected, but no one to this day knows who they were. We believe there was illegal use of the autopen. We're going to continue to bring these people in, give them an opportunity to answer questions. So Congressman Donalds was in the deposition. I'll let him say what he wants to say.
First of all, Chairman, thank you for your leadership on this issue. First things first, that's just crazy. You can't answer a simple question about the former president's ability to discharge his duties, and you worked in the White House as chief of staff to the First Lady, and you come in here and you plead the fifth. He can say whatever he wants in his testimony, which, by the way, his attorney read. He wouldn't even read his own statement. His attorney read his statement for him. So you came in there and said that him pleading the fifth is not an admission of guilt or anything about what was going on in the Biden White House, or was to give any inkling to the fact that Joe Biden was lacking in capability. The fact that he couldn't make any statement, the fact that the White House doctor couldn't make any statement, and they both pled the fifth, which is their constitutional right to do, and we respect the Constitution like every American does, but the fact that they are now hiding behind the Constitution so that they don't have to tell the truth to the American people about Joe Biden's capabilities and mental faculties while he was president of the United States is not just shocking, it's stunning, and it demonstrates the level of corruption that was going on in that administration. The chairman is being nice. I don't have to be. This is corruption at the highest level. Because if you cannot answer a simple question about Joe Biden's capabilities, then that further demonstrates that he was not in charge of his administration. And if he was not in charge of his administration, then every order, every bill that was signed, every memorandum, as far as I'm concerned, are null and void. And congressional Democrats need to actually step into the light and not hide behind this stuff or run away from it, because everything that administration did, as far as I'm concerned, is unlawful. If he did not have the ability to discharge his duties, then anything that he signed or the autopen signed or whatever, as far as I'm concerned, is null and void. And where was Kamala Harris? I'm not going to speak for the chairman, I'm going to speak for myself. As far as I'm concerned, every member of the Biden administration at this point needs to be subpoenaed. I don't care if they were a secretary, I don't care if they were a janitor working in there. They all got to come in and answer questions for this committee.
Congressman, does that include Dr. Joe Biden?
Of course. Her right-hand man, listen, Anthony Bernal was the right-hand man. That's her guy, her chief of staff. If he came in here and pled the fifth, I'm sorry. Former First Lady, she got to come in here and answer questions. This is not that is the president's wife. I have a wife. James has a wife. Obviously, with family members, you want to do everything you can to protect your family. But if you can't answer a basic question to the mental capabilities of President Biden, then as far as I'm concerned, you now have to answer to the American people.
Should the former president or vice president be subpoenaed?
I think Kamala Harris needs to come in and tell us what she knew and when she knew it. She ran for president, so she should be able to tell us what was going on.
Mr. Chairman, do you agree that former Vice President Kamala Harris and the former First Lady should both be subpoenaed?
Well, I think they should have already issued statements. They should have already done public relations campaign to sit down and answer questions. They should go on Fox. They should go on CNN and answer questions, because I think, with the exception of one or two networks that may or may not be here, I think most reporters would ask them exactly what Byron said. And I think that everyone wants to know, was Joe Biden mentally capable to execute the duties of the presidency? His doctor and someone on his inner circle already pled the fifth? That's a simple question. So we're going to bring in everyone. We're moving up the line. So we've started with the lower level staffers that we think were the ones that actually put the documents in the autopen and pressed power. Now we're moving up to the people that we think told the staffers to use the autopen. So we'll see where that takes us. But I think the possibility is very good that we'll be asking members of the family to come in and talk.
Still going to be a political liability for Democrats in 2026?
I don't know. Look, I'm not worried about political. I just want to get answers for the American people. There were a lot of things signed with an autopen on days when Joe Biden was in the White House, which raises a red flag. There's been no evidence that Joe Biden knew. He's already demonstrated to the American people during that debate with Trump that he wasn't at the top of his mental game. And now you have a situation where he gave an interview with the New York Times and admitted he didn't know everything. He didn't sign off on every single individual pardon. That's not the way the pardon process works. He incriminated himself in the New York Times interview. These staffers have an opportunity to answer simple questions. Were you told to lie about Joe Biden's health? That's not something you need executive privilege. You know, they plead the fifth to avoid self-incrimination.
That's correct.
My God.
That is correct.
That's bad. So
Chairman, so in that New York Times article, if I can just pick up on that, the former president said he orally approved all the decisions, particularly late in the term. Your reaction to that?
So I'm just trying to picture in my mind. That's why we wanted, we blocked off the whole day for questions with Anthony Bernal. In that scenario, if someone brings a document to you, Mr. President, here is a pardon on John Doe, or here's an executive order to ban fracking. Will you sign it? I authorize you to go take this downstairs to the staffer to use the autopen to sign my name. Does that doesn't seem very efficient, which I know that most Democrats in Washington aren't very efficient, so it's possible that could happen. But we're trying to understand the process here, and they won't answer simple questions. So we'll see.
Have there been any discussions about calling the former president or former first lady to come in?
Every option's on the table. We're going to try to get answers. We're going to try to do this rapidly. We're bringing people in. I mean, we're doing 2 or 3 interviews and depositions a week. That is rapid pace for a congressional investigation. So hopefully we can give everybody an opportunity to answer questions, and then we'll go from there. We'll decide as a committee what steps to take next and who to bring in. But I think right now every option's on the table, and they're not doing anything in here. When they have an opportunity to answer simple questions like, were you ever told to lie about Joe Biden's health? And they have to plead the fifth. I don't think anyone in America is reassured that Joe Biden was the one making decisions on those executive orders and pardons.
Mr. Chairman, if they continue to ask for subpoenas and plead the fifth, how are you going to move forward with the investigation if the witnesses aren't giving you any answers? Well,
we're going to talk about that. We've got other options on the table, but it's unfortunate that if Joe Biden was mentally fit and there was a legal process by which to use that autopen, just say it. Just come out here and say it. You've got an opportunity, but you plead the fifth. I don't think these were gotcha questions. These were simple questions that you all would ask. I think most of you, some of you wouldn't, but most of you would ask if you had an opportunity to talk to Anthony Bernal. So that's it. We'll get more information.
One last one on the New York Times piece, because in that report, Chairman, they write, even after Mr. Biden made that decision, one former aide said the Bureau of Prisons kept providing additional information about specific inmates, resulting in small changes to the list. Rather than ask Mr. Biden to keep signing revised versions, his staff waited and then ran the final version through an autopen, which they saw as a routine procedure, the aide said. Do you see that as incriminating or proof that
that's not the way the pardon process is supposed to work? And I don't think that would hold up in any court of law. At the end of the day, you're going to see a lot of these executive orders and pardons end up in a court of law, because this whole process stinks to high heaven. It's not the way it's supposed to work. Joe Biden's already incriminated himself in that interview. These staffers have an opportunity to answer simple questions, and they're pleading the fifth. So we're going to keep pressing forward, and hopefully we'll get some answers soon. I think a lot of the pardons and the executive orders are going to end up in court, and they're not doing anything in here in these depositions to make their case. So thank you all.
If you want to answer questions you believe might be invalid.